Evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting of Tuesday, October 7, 2025 to order. And I'd like to have roll call. Madam Secretary.
Chairman Cattouli,
Present.
Commissioner Bellamy, Commissioner Goszewski,
Present.
Horton,
Present.
Commissioner Oler,
Present.
Commissioner Prince,
Here.
Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Do you have any communications?
The only thing I wanted to note, just in case there's anyone here with time commitments in the audience, the rezoning request Z2515 for the lot on the corner of 37th Avenue South and Poinsett, as the applicant has asked to postpone that to possibly the next meeting, hopefully the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, old business. We got a sketch plan submitted.
Minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I already checked that. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to call for an approval of the minutes of September 16th.
I do have a change in the minutes
Yes, sir.
on 6B. My comments were that because of the city properties along Long Bay, it appeared that we were creating a donut hole, and I voted no.
Right. Okay. Any other comments about those minutes?
If there are no other comments, Commissioner, we will get those amended and put those amended minutes online for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Sir,
Second.
second? Okay, the motion's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, item 6B. I'm sorry, yeah, 5B.
5A.
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 Okay.
I'm losing my place here.
No worries. Item 5A is sketch plan SGB 2519. This is a sketch plan of subdivision creating 41 residential lots, open space, and public rights-of-way at Harper Valley off Tommy Chestnut Road. You originally heard this at the August 15th meeting, and they postponed to allow them to provide additional information justifying the extent of tree removals proposed in the sketch plan. So a little bit of background for sketch plan. This is a new step in our platting process to provide early feedback on the layout and design of a subdivision with a focus on preserving existing trees. This is a 13.2 acre property. It's currently undeveloped and vacant, accessed by Tommy Chestnut Road, and it's currently 2 lots of record, zoned R1A. There's a field inventory identifying all 8-inch trees plus as part of the submittal. The conceptual layout is 41 residential lots for single-family homes, open space, and public rights-of-way. The sketch plan shown identifies the trees to be removed in red. No details are provided regarding how trees to remain will be protected during construction, and that is fair because we would just expect to see that at the preliminary plat level. And the layout is conceptual and intended to support early review of the site plan, particularly with regard to tree preservation, grading impact, and infrastructure feasibility. The next part of the staff report is just an index of the trees to be removed by lot and trees to be retained by lot. There are, just to note, a few trees shown in red in that list that even if you approve the sketch plan would still have to go to BZA to be removed because they exceed that 24-inch threshold. For the staff comments, From planning, staff notes that no measure of tree quality such as health or structural condition has been provided to justify the proposed removals or retention. The submittal includes a grading plan offered as rationale for widespread tree removals. However, grading plans are not required or appropriate at the sketch plan stage. Tree removals should first be considered and approved by the Planning Commission based on the specific trees in question and their condition. By preparing engineered construction plans that incorporate grading and removals before receiving such approval, the applicant has proceeded at their own risk. And then the zoning division has no issue with the proposed sketch plan, but notes the following. At the preliminary plot stage of construction, all trees to be retained need to be shown protected through grading and details. No matter the outcome of the sketch plan stage, trees exceeding 24 inches shall not be removed unless an arborist recommends removal based on the condition of the tree or the BZA grants approval for renewal. And I just referred to that. I forgot about the arborist part, but that's an alternate path to removal for a 24-inch tree. And then Public Works, a full technical review will occur during the preliminary plat and construction document stages, but they note the following. A drainage access easement will be required along the canal ditch measured from the top of bank from Tommy Chestnut to the Intercoastal Waterway. Final easement width to be determined. Easement may affect the buildable areas of all lots adjacent to the canal ditch and the proposed T turnaround named Mallow Court. Adjustment to the T turnaround will be required where it conflicts with canal drainage easement. Proposed non-jurisdictional wetland fill areas will require SCDES BCM review and approval, and water and sewer extensions have not been reviewed. And the fire marshal has no concerns or issues with the sketch plan. I know we talked about it a lot this morning. The applicant is here this evening, and we do have the grading plan as submitted as a part of your packet for review as well.
Any comments by the commissioners?
So the last time we were here with the meeting, I thought that the applicant was going to provide us some photos to get a better idea of the topography, the trees and stuff like that, but we don't have anything but a grading plan in our packet. Do we have any of that?
I do not. I have not received anything else.
All right. Can the applicant explain?
Hey, good evening. My name is Brady Gant with G3 Engineering and Surveying, the agent for this property. So it's kind of hard to see, but I don't know if I can change the page, but on the grading plans, there are, okay, perfect. There are basically a full topography map on these plans showing all of the contours of the entire site, both existing and the proposed contours. We don't have any pictures, I guess, but I don't know if pictures would really help too much in kind of talking through what's going on. The main items that we have concerns on site for trying to, retain some of the trees while being able to do some of the development on the site is that there's a number of undulations in the site, depression areas, being on the water. There's a number of contours on the back part of the site that make it difficult based off of the current lay of the land to try to save trees. What you actually see on this plan that's a little different is we have gone back through based off the comments of the last planning commission meeting and saved a number of trees. It's not shown on here, but you can kind of see on the grading plans the trees along the waterway that I think were brought up in the last meeting. A number of the ones that are outside of any of the building envelopes have been saved on these plans. So we have gone back through the exercise of trying to save some of the trees based off of the grading considerations we talked about last go around. But any of the trees you see on the grading plans, if you're able to flip through them, all those are being saved on site. So you can see how the trees that are currently on site are being saved. There's basically number of trees within every single lot that have been saved. The only locations of trees really being removed now is anything that's currently in the middle of where the proposed roads were based off the initial layouts that were approved here for the zoning of the property, as well as any trees that are basically directly in the middle of lots where you'd have a house built. But anywhere in the backyards, anywhere there's potential savings like around ponds or like we talked about along the waterway, all those trees have been saved now based off of the plans. Again, I know it's kind of early for some of this grading considerations because this is supposed to be a sketch plan. It's not supposed to be, I guess, a review of the grades, but we have gone back through to try to save anything we can to make sure that we can do as many tree saves as possible. I know we brought up the the means of trying to save the trees that are shown to be saved on the plan, and we would make sure those tree protections are brought up based off the drip lines of any of those trees. But really, what we're here tonight for is kind of just to attempt to move forward with these plans and allow staff the chance to review the grading plans, the drainage plans, and utilities. A number of the trees are proposed to be removed because of utilities and roadway alignments and everything, which I believe probably makes more sense for staff to take a look at to make sure they're okay with it. And talking with the developer, I know they have talked about the potential for increasing any landscaping requirements to kind of mediate some of the tree removals. So if these are options for you guys that we can kind of do the best we can to not only try to save as many trees, but try to mediate on site with some new plantings, I think that's definitely something we'd be amenable to do as long as we can move forward and kind of get that as a staff review throughout the preliminary plat and development reviews.
So in reference to numbers, caliber, inches, everything, compared to what you initially submitted, this photo that's here now, to what you have now, what did you increase in savings as opposed to what was actually taken out on the plan?
I can't tell you the exact number, but I'd say if you're looking at this in general, probably somewhere around 25% roughly. I mean, there's a lot of trees along these backyards here and all these trees back up here by the waterway, which still make it a little difficult because of the grades, but are stuff we can work on. And then anything through the backyards here that we're now showing the grading plans that are now shown to save. I don't know exactly the numbers because I don't have the calipers of each specific tree in front of me, but I know there's a large difference in what was planning to be removed prior to what we have now. And obviously with staff, we can go through some of those numbers as well if we can get through tonight and move forward with the development. But the goal here is to try to alleviate any of those removals if they don't seem like they're necessary. We will shift, building pads and any of the house envelopes and anything necessary to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the plan as it is.
I still can't get a grasp on what kind of trees or what kind of border you're going to have between the Beverly homes to the right of the diagram and this project.
In terms of a buffer, you said?
Yeah, are you going to take all of those down?
There's a number of trees currently shown on this plan, and I can kind of maybe show it on these plans, that are still expected to be saved. I think that's a conversation we can have with the developer and staff on trying to include some sort of buffering between them. That's not something we've been at, looking at this point in the process with it just being a sketch plan, but it's something I'm sure would be amenable with the developer of having some sort of buffer.
Well, shouldn't that be a part of the sketch plan then?
Sure. And again, it's just not something that's been brought up quite yet through the sketch plan process, but it's something we would definitely be amenable of including some sort of buffer requirement along the back of those lots in between the Beverly site and the and those lots there.
But that's why we asked for a sketch plan.
Yes, sir.
We would like to know this before we talk about later on making changes and further on in.
Yeah, and I guess kind of
And I think I was not here for the meeting that you were here earlier for, but in reading the minutes, I think that's what you were asked for.
yeah, and I apologize. I wasn't at the last meeting, but my understanding was a lot of the talks were about the tree saves. And again, I don't have any issue, and I believe the developer wouldn't have any issue with trying to include some sort of buffering between those properties. It's something we could definitely include in the provisions for any approvals to make sure we have a buffer in between, just to make sure that it's something that you wouldn't see too much in between this property and those Beverly properties right next door.
As well as down on the cul-de-sac for Raccoon Point Drive. If you eliminated those two lots, you'd save a lot of trees, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the only issue you have in that area there is a low depression that is encompassing a lot of the property back there as well. All those existing homes, there's a depression in that area that is not really a benefit for, I imagine, the homeowners back there either. Having that depression is just water sitting back there. So leaving those trees, that's fine. But the problem is that you're going to have sitting water in the back of those houses that wouldn't really be alleviated through just saving the trees. And we would basically allow for, with part of this development is making sure we convey any of the water from behind those houses to make sure there's no issues there, as there's been wetlands back in that area that we could alleviate any outstanding issues on. And I'm sure that's something we can continue to look at. There are a number of trees back there, but again, it's based off of topography that we would have issues trying to keep some of those trees. But again, there is a buffer back there, or at least an open space stretch back there. I think that'd be something we could easily look at, including in the approval process, would be a buffering of those lots compared to those existing lots back there, so that there's more of a gap in between the developments.
The applicant didn't upload the revised sketch plan to the place in in our software where the plat goes. But looking at the number, they say that the difference is 3850 trees to be removed versus 3227. So 600 inches, they're roughly different. But I did not have that for the packet because it wasn't in the right spot and it wasn't emailed like the grading plan.
I would suggest postponing it until we get what we need.
Any other comments?
I think providing exactly a detail exactly of what we're wanting so that they know what to come back with would be good.
No, just to clarify, what would that be? Would that be a list of the trees, qualities?
Earlier today, you guys talked about the quality of the trees. And for example, I mean, I don't have the best eyes, but I can't read on here where a 23-inch cedar is, and if the pad of the home can be moved over, 5 inches to save that 23-inch cedar, or, I think that's more of what the planning commission is looking for. So that they can see exactly where those, maybe not, I don't know, maybe I like gum trees, but the cedars and maples and all those trees are, to see if maybe there's a little bit different way to configure and not just do it based off of the grading plan. There's things that I heard you say were that you're willing to move the house pads to save some of the trees, depending if it needs to be up or back. And I understand you need uniformity to a neighborhood, but I think that can still be achieved. But I just think they can't see. They see 885 trees being taken down.
Yeah,
Or 385. Did I say 800? 385, sorry.
We talked about this morning, I know we discussed the Anchors Bay subdivision that's currently in the process of providing a tree quality assessment for y'all. They're going through and taking pictures and analyzing what are the trees, what trees are worth saving, what trees are not worth saving, and that's what they're going to present to y'all. And I think you echoed that that's kind of what you wanted to see from this subdivision as well.
But then I guess the idea would be too, in the trees that we're taking, because there's no other option but maybe to take them, or because of where the roads are, maybe what you're having to do, but then some kind of a plan for mitigation of what we can do to recover, to make this a desirable neighborhood that over the long term, as we look at the site today and we ride by it, and I'm taking a couple of pictures, there's a lot of trees out there. A lot of them are pines.
Yep.
But it's a forested site.
Yes, sir.
And then the whole idea of doing what we're doing is to say, okay, let us look at it the way it is and look at some kind of an idea about where we're going to be after we develop this thing to protect some trees. And I guess what we're saying is it's hard to us to look at this and understand, are we achieving that mission of protection?
Yeah. And I fully understand that, and I appreciate the response you guys have given. I think it makes it difficult with it being at the stage it's at to know some of that stuff early, just because, so many considerations. The grading stuff we're talking about theoretically shouldn't be part of this process right now because it's not a requirement, and I don't think it's, something we're supposed to be submitting at this time. I know it's kind of justification from the last meeting we had, but some of those items are probably taken at more of a further into the process. But, and some of the stuff you're talking about with mitigation and, new plantings and stuff, I believe that's all items we'd have no issue providing. I imagine it's probably not part of the sketch plan process typically for submitting any sort of mitigation plans. So, stuff we can gladly assist with providing. I imagine it's probably not something we're supposed to provide early, just because it's not part of the sketch plan process typically, and it's, I know it's a new process, but some of those items are things we would typically take care of during the development plans and the plating reviews that we talked about. So if it's stuff we need to do early, we would just like to have an idea of what that checklist would look like, just to make sure we have everything covered on our end, so we can provide you guys everything we need to get this thing through. We're at the point now, we just want to make sure we're doing something that, is something that's approvable for the area. We want to make sure everybody here is on board with what we're trying to do, and staff is as well. I think it's hard to provide all those considerations at this point through a sketch plan, not fully knowing what the final product will be in terms of how the lay of the land will be, utility layouts, and all those items, just because it's not that far enough into the process. But we will gladly take a look at whatever you guys need. If there's additional reports we can provide, we would love to be able to move forward with staff reviews of the plans and try to move some of those things in the staff review. But we will do anything we can to make sure you guys are comfortable with the plans and how we can move forward with the site.
I noticed that your building footprints seem to be very uniform and straight line. Is there any flexibility in there? In other words, in trying to save trees, can you move some over or twist others or whatever?
Yeah, I don't think that's too much of an issue. I imagine, in the early process of some of these projects, it's hard to know exactly what's going to be built on each lot. It could be custom homes, it could be whatever. So at this point, it's hard to know exactly what that would be. We don't have an issue switching things around, moving lots around to make them work best for tree saves and whatever else. The locations you guys see are typically the tree itself, not the drip line. So some of those locations might have some drip line issues if you were to try to move stuff over, but it's still not we would gladly do that. And if something we can move forward with, we would gladly make sure staff is able to review those so we can avoid as many trees as possible when it comes to just, changing the pad location or switching the pad into a different shape or whatever. Everything you see on the site plan now is kind of just a standard template of how it's normally laid out because we're so early in this process. But again, that's something we could absolutely make sure we can have some input from staff on, any input from you guys on, and make sure we can address moving forward.
So with this, what would be better, Suzanne, to postpone or decline with recommendations? What's the best recommendation for them to move forward? Postpone? Okay.
Any other comments? I'd like to invite any public comments on this request?
Hey, good evening. Jay Lorick with Palmetto Harbor HOA present. So we butt up there to the south end there. So we were here last meeting, and we're working with Chris Banning and them. But I think if you looked at the drawing where the cul-de-sac is, there's a really nice line of trees and a nice buffer zone there. So I think that would be I think we're going to work with them to to keep that buffer for our pond. But if you look on the north on the other end there where you can see it, this end right here. So this is our easement. We have like a 100 by 300 foot. It's all woods right here. It's protected. It's part of the HOA. So that's this is all be left tree, so they can't, they can't touch that, which is nice, right? So that's good. It's just, these houses here, maybe creating some kind of buffer zone, even if, there's not many trees right here, so, maybe planting something there, but we'd be okay with, doing a nice buffer zone, a nice planting zone right here, and then leaving some of these trees here, because it is really thick and trees, and it's really nice. So I think, we've been out to the site many times with the neighborhood, and we think we can make something work, and we think a lot of these trees are still on our property too, so we're not too concerned as far as, budding up the Palmetto Harbor, so just want to put that input in there, so we're okay with that, so, but, and then, I'm not a survey, but this line of trees right here with Beverly, it's really nice, thick trees and a buffer zone, so, and again, I think a picture would be 1,000 words, but there's definitely room there to leave something there for everybody to be happy. So it's, again, but it is pretty rough inside here. It goes like this, right? We walked it several times, so it's pretty nasty in here, so they're going to do a lot of work to fix that. But again, what we're seeing so far with Chris Manning and them, I think we're okay with, budding up the Palmetto Harbor. So just want to put our input on that too, so.
So are you recommending where it says James, Kinlaw, Timothy, Cords, having some type of buffer there?
Yeah, some kind of planted buffer like Del Wub did, over there as far as those homes butting up on Ann Street there, something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be our perfect world if they can work something else like that. But again, that'll protect both communities, right? So.
And the two lots on the circle, 29 and 30,
These two lots right here? Yes, sir.
Yep. Eliminate those and save those trees?
No, I think the homes would work here. The homes can stay here. It's just this line right here. And, we'll get with the surveyor. I talked to Chris Manning before David before we got here. But I think if most of these trees fall on our property line, we should be okay, and I think they do. I think they're pretty close. So I think those big pines, if you drove by there and looked at it, those big pines that butt up to the lake, the ponds right here, if we can save that tree line, that would be huge. And I think most of those trees do fall on our property, so I think we should be okay. But again, we're not surveyors, so we haven't seen that actual line yet. But I think there's room. They can definitely keep these two lots here, so it's not an issue for us.
So how wide a buffer or area would that be?
Well, I mean,
If some of it is on your property line, how far into their property would that have to go to make a decent wooded buffer?
yeah,
10 feet, 20 feet?
I mean, everybody says 20 feet, but I don't think that's realistic. But I think, if these trees fall 5 feet on our side and another 5 feet on that side, a 10 foot buffer would work. It's really thick. I mean, it's really thick with so I think that would be, we don't ask them for everything, but I think a 10 foot would be, if it works out where it's 5 and 5, I think that would be sufficient for us.
Just gonna. It doesn't, I mean, from the aerial, which is not survey accurate, but the trees are generally on this property. There aren't any on that property.
Is this thing always like spot on? Not survey. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think we can. I think there's, again, I think there's enough room there that we could keep most of these trees right here and I think everybody would be happy, This is kind of, there's not really many trees right here, right? So we would ask for some kind of, kind of like what they did over Del Webb, something like some kind of buffer there. And then this is our, this one right here, that's a natural buffer for us, so that stays there. So then we're okay.
Yeah, it looks like those property lines per this are shifted to the left per the map because they go through all the houses instead of beside them.
Right.
So it's probably about 5 foot, 10 foot off.
Okay. I know we're going to talk about the other subdivision later on here. And again, we're working closely with them too. So I think we can, as long as everybody's in agreement, I think we can make everything work and everybody be happy. So, and they stress their importance of keeping the trees too. So I think it's, so far so good, right? So we'll see what happens, but, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
So if Palmetto Harbor, they're willing to get a buffer of a certain size and area, what about on the opposite side? Would you do the same width of 10 foot?
Yes, sir. I think that's what we were kind of trying to lead on to begin with. I think we'd be better off with the planted buffer, just to have it, straight line across the property line there. That would be no issue of making sure we have a planted buffer along those existing residential houses along those two spots especially. And then we could look at the Beverly side as well to make sure that's taken care of.
Wait, so you're talking about taking out the trees on the Beverly side and then planting something?
No, we would leave any trees along the property lines and the backyards we can through that spot, but there's not a lot of, protected trees through there. I'm sure there's probably some extra trees we could save that aren't shown on a tree survey. But we would, if we can come through here and basically with an agreement that we can provide buffering across any residential communities, that's not an issue. And we don't mind leaving here tonight, including that in the provisions for this.
So we still don't have a tree survey for that.
Well, to correct, the tree survey is completed for the whole site, but the tree survey is only protected trees because that's the requirement to move forward. So there's a number of trees that aren't protected, mostly pines, I'm sure, that are not picked up on the tree survey. So that would be what's not currently shown on the tree survey. That you guys are showing the trees on for the site plan.
How many of those that are the ones you saved, the 600 caliber inches we were talking about, are they between this property and the Beverly site? Are there many along that line that got saved?
So there's a number up here along the beginning of the Beverly property. There's not many protected trees, but you can see 3, 4. It's kind of hard to see, there's glare. But there's a number of trees, probably 10 or so that are saved directly here. There's a few in the backyard here that we can make sure to take care of, especially if they're in that 10-foot strip, especially. Anything that's expected to be in those buffers, we can make sure to definitely include any savings on any of those areas. But I imagine, and again, it's kind of hard to see off of just the site plan, but basically any tree within that 10-foot strip directly from the property line are probably saved already. And there's probably a couple that stick out just past that 10 feet that are saved as well. The only one I see on this site plan, which I'll have to just verify, but there's, basically any tree you can see through here, there's quite a few trees that are saved in that 10-foot stretch right there that we could include as a buffer between this property and Beverly's property. And then same on this side over here.
I'm just wondering if we'd be better off to look at something like requiring 1,500 caliber inches of trees to be planted along these sides. Because the piece beside them's clear cut, the other piece is developed. They need to be able to work inside of their confines here. That if we did 1,000 or 1,500 caliber inches that had to be put in these in these buffers, that might help
Why don't
increase the tree count as well as protect the properties.
Why don't we wait to see, based off of what we're asking for, what all's left? Because based off of what we're asking, we might be able to save more than what they're thinking. And they won't have to do a specific caliber inch because they'll have the natural trees that are already there. So it'll save the developer money, but just move the site a little bit to accomplish what we need without having to replant brand-new trees. Or, I mean,
Or we could do 1,500 caliper inches and let the city staff determine how many of those they don't have to plant because they saved existing trees versus how many they're gonna have to plant if they take out.
but they wouldn't, would that be something that y'all do? Or no?
You don't do that.
If you bid 1,500 trees, what would be the
Caliper
minimum
inches.
caliber? I mean, you say with no tree being less than 4? I don't know, what would be the,
Yeah, and then we're getting into,
In kind,
Kind of.
quality, and
and then telling one developer one thing versus another.
that's where we don't have a standard, and that's what we're trying to do.
you know, once things start shifting and they try to clear up this to do the lots, it's gonna have some areas that if we don't allow it, it'll be wet areas and it'll drown out whatever we have them leave. A while later, it'll be drowned out in just a thicket of weeds or shrubs versus the trees, unless we were at this moment where we're at, looking at a planned amount.
But wouldn't that come later on the grading plan?
That's why I was just using a set amount of inches
But I'm saying,
as a
if we have,
measuring stick.
if we have an agreement as to where the trees are going to be saved and what trees are going to be saved, then the grading can go from there. And they can adjust their grading to that. I thought that was the whole point of the sketch plan.
I don't want to see us get ahead of ourselves with these plans at this point. This is something new that's been relatively established. And I think we need to be flexible as possible too. So what would be the best way forward, as the developer is saying? Approve the request as submitted with some comments?
No, it was postponed, get the information that we're looking for, and then at that point, with the information based off the trees that they show and the quality they are, if they're savable, if it's, a 12-inch gum tree versus a 23-inch cedar, which one you'll save the cedar? And move a pad or a home pad over a little bit to save that. And then at that point, them give us ideas on their buffers for the neighborhoods adjoining. And if that includes saving certain trees in that area, then that would minimize the amount of possible caliper inches that we're thinking of.
I think the idea really is that if we're presented with a plan that's showing us what we're doing, and then in that plan, while they're looking, if they're asking to take stuff away, that plan, it's hard for us to come up with any kind of a mitigation plan as we're looking at this. So I think the real thing is, and I don't know, because this is, like I said, it's a new situation, and do we even at this point talk about what can be done to mitigate something when the whole idea of the thing is to save our trees and end up with more trees in our neighborhoods.
They will have mitigation requirements for tree removal. That can be dealt with at the preliminary plat stage. This is, what are the quality of the trees? Which one are we going to save? Which ones are we going to remove? And then move towards the preliminary plat construction plans once those decisions have been made.
And the BZA actually takes care of that part
The
of it.
BZA takes care of allowing a variance for removal of a 24-inch or greater tree. They also allow variances for mass grading. That's the other element, but or they can issue a variance for mass grading, which otherwise is not allowed by our ordinance, and they are, by the preliminary plat construction set, really all they're allowed to take out is what's in the infrastructure. To grade the home lots, that's why they have to go to BCA for.
So we'll need to postpone to get the information that Suzanne just said. Unless I'm missing something.
I would much rather see a 22-inch gum and a 14-inch maple in their natural state be saved than plant a 4-inch maple as an afterthought. So that's how I feel about this.
Understood.
See, we understand the position you're in. You're the first group that we're going through the sketch plan just as much as this is the first time that the board has to address it as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we apologize in advance.
We apologize in advance. Yes, we do. It's just that we don't want to make rash decisions now and then later on, it's not even close to what we could have done to protect as many trees as possible.
Okay, so if this is postponed, because we would request the quality of the trees, would that satisfy the commissioners?
Yep.
Do we do it at that, I guess, when we say who would determine that? Where would that information come from?
G3 Engineering.
I guess for our side, just understanding what the quality means, is that, would you guys want a survey just very easily detailing which trees have been shown as removed, or is it pictures along buffers, or?
Well,
I think city staff will be able
could tell
to-
you exactly what, rather than continue to
I mean,
beat this up, I think staff could tell you exactly what they would want to see, and we could go from there.
I think Bahama Island went to BZA recently, and they came out with a list, and these are the trees, this is the picture of the tree, this tree it's been broken, it's not a good quality specimen of that species, versus this is a tree in great condition, it's worthy of being saved, and that's the kind of information that I think
Yeah,
this is supposed to elicit, this whole process, yeah.
Introduce us to the trees.
Okay, and I guess for product for you guys, is it a full report? Because it's going to be a very long report if that's what it's going to take. Is that what it is? Okay.
I would say any questions on that, ask city staff. They're more versed in this than we are.
Okay.
And I think Suzanne understands what we are looking for.
I think it's a good idea. Any further comments? Any comments by the public? Okay. If we postpone this, we're going to postpone it with some comments? What would the appropriate comments be, Suzanne? What is, see, we don't
Just
exactly know.
Call for a motion, I'll make it up.
We don't need it. We don't need to
Just a postponement?
postpone. We'll handle it again in the workshop.
We need to let them know what we're looking for.
Palio,
I'll make it up.
ready.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'll call for a motion.
I move the planning commission postpone the sketch plan sub -25-19 prepared for Harper Valley as submitted, contingent upon receiving a true sketch plan, identifying the trees and the quality of trees per city staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay. We have first and second, last chance for comments. Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item 5B is the first public hearing regarding the First Amendment to the DA for Lorette Associates Tract. This is the first of two public hearings. The second will take place on Monday, October 20th at City Council, along with first reading of ordinance. Planning Commission takes no action. They're just hosting the hearing for public comment. This is between Beezer Homes and the city, and it's regarding an amendment because the off-site road improvements, specifically the improvement of Long Bay Road from Water Tower Road to Champions Boulevard, have been delayed. And this is to lengthen that DA to lengthen the time for the developer to make those improvements to 12 months from the effective date of the amendment. The amendment has to be delivered within 60 days of approval. And there's a couple of remedies the city has, default notice with 120 days to cure. City may withhold building permits beyond the first 200 units, as well as we talked about in workshop this morning, this DA is being revised to also allow the city to have a bond on those road improvements so that that's another option the city has to move forward if things aren't completed.
Okay. Anyone in the public would like to make a comment on this first public hearing? The next public hearing be by City Council at their next meeting, I guess. Any of the commissioners have anything to say on this? Last chance for public comments. I guess I'll close the hearing. Okay. Go to 6A. Okay, 6A.
So we have item 6A, preliminary subdivision plat SUB 2470, major preliminary plat, creating 33 residential lots, open space, and rights-of-way in Hudson Creek at Palmetto Harbor. Planning Commission recommended the annexation and zoning of this parcel to R1B on May 7th, 2024, and City Council approved the annexation and zoning petition on June 17th, 2024. This will be accessed by Scenic Drive. The total area of the subdivision is 8.58 acres, and the subject property is currently 7 lots of record. And the parcel is unused and vacant currently. The smallest lot size is 6,000 square feet, and the largest lot size is 9,776 square feet. The density of the subdivision is 3.85 dwelling units per acre. All setbacks conform to the standards of the R1B district, and this plot will be creating Gator Waddle Way and Raccoon Point Drive, both 50-foot wide public rights-of-way. All roadways are designed to meet city standards, including sidewalks and street trees. As for staff review, there was no major issues. We did just want to note that we did receive a request from the adjacent property, Palmetto Harbor, requesting a buffer, 15 to 20-foot buffer along the shared property line. And in response, the applicant noted that the existing trees were removed due to grading around the proposed pond, but supplemental plantings will be added along the rear property line to provide a vegetative buffer in accordance with the request.
Any comments or concerns by the commissioners?
And you do have a plat of the proposed buffer?
Yes. Would you like to see that?
Put it up.
Where does this go?
And the adjacent property is amenable to that?
Sorry, what was that?
The adjacent property is amenable to that? They accept that as an adequate buffer?
That, I don't believe that we have sent them the buffer. But they are here. Palmetto, you're okay with that buffer? You're not okay with that buffer?
They'll get public comment.
They are not okay with that buffer.
Okay.
And I do just want to note that there is not a requirement to have a buffer here.
Rocky, you want to open it for public comment?
Yeah. Okay,
So-
public comments.
Thank you. So this buffer we've been talking to David and them for the past year since it started. So there is a very nice tree line here, right? We talked back to tree line. Again, full disclosure, my house is right here, right? So a little bit of interest in here, but there is a full tree line here. So we're trying to save as many trees as we can. So I'm not sure if this is 5 or 10 feet, wherever this proposed buffer is, we would like to keep as many trees as possible and then start to grade from there. I mean, I think they can be saved, but again, I'm not, I don't know about the way the grading has to go, but if we can keep them, we want to keep them, again. So, we've been discussing with them that we would save as many as we can, but now this is new to us as far as a new proposed, buffer here, so.
So again, you're asking for a more natural buffer that currently exists versus tearing it down and planting new trees.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think if I know this is all new with the trees, but, if the city, I don't know if the city can say that but when they do these plans, if they can say, we're going to keep a 10-foot buffer around this whole property with the natural trees, because if you look for that, if you go behind our house and look at the buffer, you can't see 10 feet through the woods. So the natural buffer that's been there for years, if they can keep something like that, even if it's low vegetation, and keep it there, it's way better than tearing it all down and replanting and waiting 20 years again, right? So that would be our recommendation, to try to keep it as much as possible.
Gotcha.
So you're thinking 10 feet is an adequate amount, is that what you're saying?
Well, I think, being realistic and, looking at the plans, it looks like there's a 20-foot buffer there, but then they want to do some grading, but, our ask would be, at least 10 feet buffer, and that's not that much. I mean, it's only from from here to the wall, right? It's really not that much. You know, we would like a 20-foot buffer, of course, but I think that might be too much to ask here with the houses go. But again, 20 foot would be perfect, but again, it's pretty thick back there. But that line of trees is really, there's some nice big cedars, maples in there as well too, so.
Comment as well. Cartier from Palmetto Harbor. When you're speaking about the trees, I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about trees, about nice trees, big trees, certain species of trees. As a homeowner, when I'm looking out, I might see 3 or 4 really nice trees. That's great. I like looking at nice trees. But if there's also just green, I'm happy. I can't see the house on the other side. So it doesn't necessarily need to be 30 feet deep. As long as it's green, I can't see what's behind the green. And I think that's kind of what Jay was alluding to, is that strip, if it's there and it's left natural in its natural state and it does the job, then you don't need to pick and choose so much. Yeah, leave the beautiful trees in there, but you don't have to worry about a tree on every lot, because when you're looking around you see green.
Allison, did you get his name and address? So we need your name and address.
Dave Cartier, 148 Palmetto Harbor Drive.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Tommy Holt with G3 Engineering and Surveying. As it was stated by city staff, there's not a requirement for a buffer here, but we did try to go above and beyond, and we actually added additional plantings to that area behind the pond there, and it is all cedar trees, it's maple trees, it's what was there. The cedar trees grow really fast. I can tell you that from my own personal opinion. I put some between my neighbor and myself, and in 2 years they've grown and they're very full. So once again, that is the area that we are coming out, and you can see at the very end that there's a drain line. That's our outfall to where the stormwater needs to leave the site. And that was the suggested site by the city staff, by Public Works, of where this outfall needed to go. So the reason that area can't stay undisturbed is because we have to put a drain line under that, but that we are willing to come back through and overplant that area to create that vegetative buffer there. So that was the point and the reason why we did what we did there.
So the drain line has got to go from lot number 11 all the way back to the back part of the pond?
It's coming along the back of lot 10 right there. And then in between lots 10 and 11 at the end of the cul-de-sac is the area that we have to outfall.
How wide is that?
I want to say, we were adhering to the landscape buffers there, Suzanne. Is that 10 or is that 20 feet on that back side there? On behind the pond there. Yeah, I think it's 10. And like I said, obviously, I love trees myself and would want to save as many as we can. It's just whenever to meet the stormwater requirements that are put forth, you can't put more than 18 inches of dirt around an existing tree or take it away from an existing tree. It'll kill it. So that's why a lot of these trees have to go during development, is because you can't put that much dirt around a tree. And to meet the stormwater requirements, obviously, there are areas where we got to cut dirt and then you have to bring dirt in other areas. So it's the balance that we have to do as developers to try to make that work. And like I said, I really feel like we kind of went above and beyond with the extra plantings that we were willing to put in between Palmetto Harbor and the pond there to try to supplement that undisturbed buffer. Considering it's not required at all, and the developer offered to do that. So I felt like it was a nice gesture on their part. And then ultimately the pond is right behind it. So it's not like there's going to be a house built right up against that. The only lot that's going to even front that is lot 10 there. And of course they'll have to meet setbacks and things like that. So it's not like the development is happening right along the property line there.
How thick do those cedars? Because it's typically from the bottom, it's full from the bottom all the way up, correct?
Well, they're similar to like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But so they're really wide at the bottom and then they get, shallower at the top, but they do grow, 20 feet. So, like I said, the ones we planted 3-foot trees and they're already 6 feet and it's been 2.5 years and they're really full. I mean, I can't see my neighbors at all.
Any other comments by the commissioners? Any further comments from the public?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the planning commission approve the major preliminary plat of subdivision. Am I on the right one?
24-70.
Thank you, 24-70 prepared for Hudson Creek at Palmetto Harbor as submitted with taking into consideration Palmetto Harbor's as much as you can of their property line, saving the trees.
I second that.
Okay, you had a first and a second. Any last comments? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And just to note again, in case anyone came in later, the rezoning request Z2515 has been postponed by the applicant. And we'll need a vote to postpone that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we postpone the rezoning request Z25-15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Is 6C. Ooh, it's slowing down. There we go. This is a request for a major PDD amendment to the Gator Hole PDD, expanding the Walmart Supercenter for online pickup and storage. The area that they are enclosing for online pickup is shown right here. I think it's currently the garden center. So that's a 4,900 square foot building expansion, and they are modifying the parking area as well. In addition to adding some of the signage that we talked about this morning in the workshop, and that is shown on the elevations. Outdoor pharmacy, home and fashion.
My favorite.
Applicant may be here, I'm not sure. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, anybody have any comments, questions? Now's the time.
I have a few comments. I like the signage now. It's very minimal. You know which side to go in for grocery, you know which side to go into the pharmacy, you know where the garden center is and the auto center. Is there really a need for the sign outdoor, auto care, home and fashion? Because if people don't know what Walmart does at this point, I don't know what rock they've been living under. And I understand that it fits within the criteria of this city signage, but I think less is more. That would be my comment.
If you do move this forward with a recommendation, it goes to city council for approval, just as a reminder. And that would be October 20th, be first reading. Now, we can provide your comments as comments, we can provide them to the applicant. I imagine it's a bigger process to get Walmart signage package changed, overnight kind of thing. But
And I'm just saving them money.
Because right now, there's 3 signs. The main Walmart, the pickup, and that small Subway in the upper left-hand corner. Now we're looking to fill in the other areas.
yeah.
There was a pharmacy sign before.
Well, it's not there now.
Really?
Just the 3. I went there this morning. Just to
point out, the signs, there's the existing Subway to remain, I think grocery over the door on this side, Walmart, the logo sign. Oh, now I can't read. That's Home and Fashion,
Vision.
Vision, Pharmacy. Oh, went too far. Pickup, Outdoor, and Auto Care on the end, kind of with an arrow pointing. But this is the face of the new addition.
I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just less is more for me personally.
Well, I would think that they didn't just get creative and decide to start putting this probably corporate wide.
Yeah.
And they're probably gonna have other stores comply with these signs in their neighborhoods or,
Yeah.
you know, on a scale like that. You don't buy one because they're buying 1,000.
Yeah, it's probably a prototypical design that they're using now,
Yeah.
moving to
It's
their
still gonna be
branding.
a Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
From
Better have
whatever
signs,
bad
people, if they're gonna
signage they
walk in
feel
the
like they
exit
need.
door.
It's set back on the parcel away from 17, so, it's not that much
All
of an impact.
All it is a personal opinion.
There's a
That,
walk in the exit door.
yeah.
Most of these signs, you're gonna have to be in the parking lot before you really see them anyway, so I don't really see it.
If you're
They're
reading it from
minimal.
17, you're really good. Take you deer hunting.
Any further comments? I'd like to invite the public, if there's any comments from the public. No further comments from the public. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Major Plan Development District Amendment to Gator Hole PDD Z-25-16 as submitted.
Second.
Okay. Last chance for comments.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, item 6D is zoning ordinance text amendment ZTX 2511. This amendment removes the definition and special exception associated with beach cabanas. This is specifically a definition and the special exception within the R4 Resort Residential District. These provisions were originally adopted to accommodate certain oceanfront-related amenities associated with large residential projects. Over time, this use has fallen out of practice, and there's a very small number of cabana houses in the city. Because the use is no longer relevant or utilized, staff has determined that the continued presence of the language in the ordinance creates unnecessary complexity. So we're just striking that complete definition for cabana house, and then striking the complete special exception allowing cabana houses in the R4 district. And we discussed it this morning, so.
Any questions about this request? Comments? Any comments or questions by the public? None. Okay, I'll call for a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the zoning ordinance text amendment DTX-25-11 as submitted.
Second.
Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item 6E is zoning ordinance text amendment ZTX 25-12. This creates a conservation zoning district and an estate lot zoning district and amends other sections of the code as needed for consistency or housekeeping type issues. The 2018 comprehensive plan introduced a new future land use classification called conservation community. This was envisioned as an alternative development pattern for greenfield lands, especially those adjacent to environmentally sensitive areas such as wetlands, waterways, and marshlands. The plan emphasized compact housing forms, common open space, and preservation of natural features to balance growth with stewardship and contextual development. And even though that was 2018, it's taken us this long to get there. But so this is the corresponding conservation zoning district. Development pressures along our corridors are greater than ever, and additionally, staff have recognized a separate need to provide a residential zoning option that allows for larger lot sizes than the current R1 zoning. So that's the R1E that's also in this ordinance. The conservation zoning district, this directly implements that conservation community land use classification. It provides a framework for clustered residential development that's higher in density in certain locations, but in exchange for that higher density, it provides significant open space in the project, protects natural resources, and incorporates architectural and design standards. Developments are required to include a mix of residential lot sizes in CR, including a minimum proportion of homes on larger half-acre parcels alongside smaller lot, single-family, duplex, townhouse, and multiplex options. Street network is expected to include meandering roadways designed to fit the land rather than a rigid grid intended to reinforce the rural residential character. Now, R1E is just a lower density alternative to the existing R1 district, requires larger lots that are limited to more to 14,000 square feet, deeper setbacks. And then again, the housekeeping revision. So just to quickly walk through, section 2316, that part of the amendment adds those two zoning districts to the list of zoning districts. Then we go to section 2318.2 that creates the R1E. It's very similar to the R1 district. The single-family dwelling size is 14,000 square feet. The minimum lot width is 100. That's up from the R1, which is 80. The heights are generally the same. There are detached garages with finished rooms over the garage space are allowed to be 27 feet tall. The impervious surface requirements are the same as R1. And I believe almost everything else is just the same as R1 for that R1E that we created. Then we go through the R4. This just adds CR and R1E landscape buffer requirement to that. It protects them similar to the R1. Same with the next section, section 2325, the business commercial district. The next section, 2326, highway commercial district, general commercial district, resort, RC resort commercial district. And then we get to section 2330, which creates the conservation residential district. Within the CR district, we have single-family dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and duplexes, duplex and triplex dwellings, townhouse developments, neighborhood and community parks and centers, golf courses and similar outdoor uses, but not lighted for night use, publicly owned recreational facilities, churches, places of worship, religious institutions, and accessory uses, and it, including commonly owned equestrian facilities and ADUs, provided that ADUs meet a set of criteria. When it's detached, it has to be separated from the principal structure by a minimum of 15 feet. They are required to have one additional parking space. The principal structure must be owner occupied, and if the ADU is leased, it can't be rented for less than 30 days. Compatible materials and architecture. Minimum parcel size is 6,500 for those parcels. They count as 1/2 of the standard dwelling unit, 800 square feet maximum with a height limit of 25 feet. Then we have home occupations allowed, signs permitted, and community gardens. Maximum overall density in the district is 4 dwelling units per acre. Minimum size of the parent parcel is 15 acres, and 10% have to be ½ acre or larger. 5,500 square foot or 6,500 square foot lots for single family, duplex 7,000, triplex 8,000, townhouses are 2,250. I won't go through the setbacks, but go to the commonly open space. 35% of the total land area for common open space, prioritizing wetlands and their buffers. 60% of the open space shall be in one contiguous tract. The non-wetland open space has uses, active uses, commonly owned amenities on sites not less than ½ an acre in size, active recreation, a trail system, fitness courses, children's play areas, and the other uses are conservation of natural, archaeological, or historical resources. A project buffer of 20-foot minimum width shall be required around the perimeter of the site. Vinyl siding and unfinished concrete block are prohibited. A usable front porch with at least 80 square feet of floor area, not less than 7 feet in depth. Not more than 40% of the total width of the front of the structure shall consist of garage doors for single-family and duplex structures. Streets are expected to meander through the development and to avoid monotony. Let's see. All wetlands in the development shall be preserved except where necessary to cross them with streets or utility corridors. All landscape plans shall incorporate pollinator species, and all landscape plans for buffers, amenity areas, or townhouse units shall incorporate pollinator species and be entirely comprised of native species. And then the maximum building heights are 45 feet for townhouses, 25 for ADUs and detached garages or barns, 15 feet for accessory buildings, and all other structures limited to 35 feet in height. Maximum impervious surface for individual building parcels shall be 35% for the ½ acre and larger parcels, 60 for all other residential parcels, and 70% for parcels under the ½ acre with an ADU. And then all open space and amenity areas shall be platted all at once in the first phase. Only 50% of the total number of residential units are permitted until all proposed amenities are fully constructed. And then we just get back to more housekeeping. The overlay zone for the traditional neighborhood development, it gives CR and R1E the same protections as R1. And the adult entertainment in section 2373 gives those 2 new districts the same protections as R1. And I think the final is the accessory building and uses. It gives those 2 districts the same protections as R1. Talked about it at length, and I believe the next step will be a workshop, a joint workshop with City Council before it goes to City Council for a vote.
Suzanne, how is this to be applied? In other words, do we have parcels in the city that this will be dropped on, or is this a result of a request by someone who wants to change their zoning?
Well, there are parcels, for instance, on Little River Neck Road that have not been developed that are adjacent to, contiguous to the city's boundary. The future land use class for those parcels is conservation. And so conservation community, and so this would be the appropriate zoning designation for those parcels should they come into the city, the conservation residential. R1E, I'm not so clear on how. There may be a neighborhood that comes forward to rezone to R1E, or it may be, it's another tool for city council for annexations and zonings.
Earlier, we talked about at workshop, section 2318-2, under number 3. Did we figure out why permitted uses has a rear setback of 25 and not 20, like single family?
Sorry, 2318-2.
So RE, R1E.
Is that the duplex and triplex one?
Nope, it's,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. It's the R1E, single family.
The rear yard or the side yard?
The rear is 5 feet more for other permitted uses. Just didn't know why that was different than the single family.
Oh, I'm missing it now. 2318.2, 3,
And go
B?
to B, yeah.
Yep. Yard requirement.
other permitted uses is the rear is 25? Oh, instead of 20.
Yeah.
I think that was just copying that from the R1. I spoke to Jim about the duplex and triplex that we talked about, making that 10 feet for side, and we're fine with that. We'll make that change before city council. But the other one, it was just the rear yard for other permitted uses in churches really comes from the R1 district. We were just copying those standards.
Okay, all right. My other question was under 23-30, conservation residential. And it would be under number 2, under H, number 5. The detached accessory dwelling.
Oh, yeah.
Unit shall be located in the rear of the side.
I think we'll take your comments and try to figure out a way to work with that so that if it is a waterway or something oriented lot, then it will work to create that kind of effect with like the Golden Mile thing that you're talking about. And you will see this again at the workshop when we have a joint workshop. And it may go to city council for first reading first, but there will be a joint workshop between the two.
So should we, I mean, I think this is great. I really do. But the more I look at it, and I looked at it this afternoon, the more exhaustive it is. Should we postpone it and talk about it again in the next workshop and then pass it? Or, I mean, I'd like to have some sort of uniform understanding before we sat down with city council.
Is this where we make recommendations and continue to work with city council to go through, but this is what gets the ball rolling
Right. That's
and
what I was
and
wondering.
starts the time clock.
I was wondering, do you want to do it now, or do we do it? we
I
could
would
do
move it
I mean, we
forward.
could do it the next meeting if, because then we would have a chance to everybody look through it and say, okay, this is my question, this is my question, this is my question.
I would move it forward because city council is also going to have questions about elements, and that way we can address everything and
Okay.
come to an understanding
Yeah.
and everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah. With the intent being a joint workshop for everyone to be on the same page, I think that's the best. You get all the players in the room so we don't have to do the same thing twice, really.
Any further comments? No more comments by the commissioner. Do we have anyone from the public like to make a comment?
Dan asked me at workshop to make any comments. The only one I'll say, there's some things that are similar to Conway's conservation subdivision, and the fact that you're requiring platting the open space at phase one is going to be problematic. because all those open spaces are not going to be exempt and they're not going to abut a right-of-way. So we've had to go back on every subdivision in that ordinance and ask for an exception because of that. That's the only thing I see that's problematic.
Thank you.
Thank you for that free attorney advice.
Free advice.
Okay.
Dan, you got that? Okay.
Right.
And that would definitely be a problem that we would not want to duplicate, because it's basically, we can't create lots that don't front on right of way. For it to be exempt, it has to be 5 acres or more, but not all open space is going to be that way. So we'll have to figure out a way to work around that.
When do you propose working around it? In other words, we need to do it between now.
Probably at city council. She'll probably have it figured out before city council workshop with us. I'm guessing.
Okay, so the thing to do would be to move this forward as is, as submitted.
As submitted or with an amendment to incorporate that so that we don't look like we're approving it, knowing there's something different that needs to be done.
That's what I was. that's what I
make it
was
up
asking,
again?
Whether we should postpone it. And then-
Just make a motion, I'll make it up.
so we should postpone it and then-
Now that Shep's gone, we're adding 40% open space to everything. I'm kidding. Shep's gonna die.
There you go.
It's already gone.
He's gone. He can't jump across the counter and choke me out now.
20%.
All right. We got that settled, right?
Yes, sir.
Any further comments? Okay, I'll call for a motion.
I move the planning commission recommend approval of the zoning ordinance text amendment Z as in Zeta, T as in Tom, X as in X-ray, 2512 as submitted with additional recommendations from future city council and fixing the right-of-way something or another.
Issue.
Yeah, the right-of-way issue. Adjacent thing that Shep brought up that Suzanne knows about. And also, see, I told you I'd make it up. Yeah, real slow-mo. And then figuring out the rear and side yard requirements of the 23-30 conservation reservation or residential accessory uses, along with the conservation residential section dealing with the setbacks for single-family lots, duplex and triplex lots, instead of being 5 feet to 10 feet. Along with other recommendations for future. Told you I'd make it up. I couldn't quite remember the wording that Shep said. Do I get a second on that ramble?
Second. Trying to process it.
Okay, we have the first and second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I think that's it. Anything else, Suzanne? That's it. Okay, motion for adjournment, please.
So moved.
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Figure Suzanne can clean up that. Yep.